So now that we've learned a little bit about the overview of the program, let's talk about how you're going to be evaluated, because that's going to be probably a thing you want to use to guide how your season goes. As a reminder, this URL contains most, if not all, of these documents, and this link will be provided in the video description below. So we talked about how all four parts, the robot performance, the robot game, the robot design, the core values, and the innovation project, all factor into your overall evaluation. One of those four, let's talk about the robot game. So on the robot game, you're given 3 chances to score as many points as you can. And the score you get is determined based off of this score sheet. And so it'll be based on, did you do the equipment inspection? Yes or no? Did you meet these criteria for the robot game mission 1? I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I did do this. Right. And so the referees will go through and score this. And in the robot game rules, you can see how these correspond to points. And so for the equipment inspection, mission 1 all the way through precision tokens is this last one over here. These sections all relate to how many points did your robot score on the table. This is the only piece that factors into your robot game score, are just the equipment inspection, the 15 missions, and the precision tokens. You'll do 3 matches and your highest score counts. So if you get a perfect score in match 1, that's what you get. You can do match 2 and 3, it's fine, but only your highest score will count for your ranking. The only time your other scores matter is if there's a tie. So if you and another team at the competition you're at both get a perfect score in your first round, then your second highest score will break the tie. But know that the number you get, the number of points you get, does not matter. What matters is your rank. So if there are 10 teams at your event and your team got the highest score, your team gets a rank of 1. It doesn't matter if your high score was 200 points or 600 points. The only thing that matters is you had the highest score. So keep that in mind. But you'll also notice there's one more thing on this sheet, and it's this section down here. And you'll notice that this section is in this reddish pink color because this actually is part of your core values. And so what happens is when your team's at the table, the referees are evaluating how well do you demonstrate this idea of gracious professionalism, the idea that, we want to do well, but we want everyone to do well because we're better when everyone is good. And so when the team comes up, you're guaranteed a 3 if you don't do anything. If your team displays exceptionally great core values, the referees can bump you up to a 4. If you display not that, the referees can bump you down to a 2. And you'll get this score for all 3 matches. So whereas your robot score only counts the highest score, all 3 of these count. So if you score a 3, a 3, and a 3, that's 9 points towards your core values. If you score a 4, a 4, a 4, that's 12 points towards your core values. So this is part of the how do we weave core values into everything. This is probably the easiest to understand because you can map it pretty easily to the robot game scores and see what's happening. The other document that you're going to care about are the rubrics. And so we'll talk about how a judging session works in the next video, but the rubrics are how we get the rest of your score. So you'll go through your judging session, and there'll be a panel of at least 2 judges in our region. We try to do 3 judges minimum. And the judges are going to evaluate you in the areas of robot design, innovation project, and core values. And at the end of it, they're going to give you some feedback. They're going to say, what did you do a great job with? What did they like? And think about what is something you can improve on. So those are things, and you're going to get that in all 3 areas. This will also be when the judges consider nominating you for one of the optional awards. And, we'll look at the awards later, but these are extra awards beyond the core awards that we give out. The 2 pages you're really going to focus on as a coach are these next 2 pages. So the innovation project and the robot design. As the teams are going through their judging sessions, these are the documents the judges are trying to fill out. And so these are publicly available. These are on the site, on the resource page that we've talked about a few times now. But this is where your scores for the other areas come from. And so we'll look at this first one just as an example. So in the identify area on Innovation Project, we're saying the team had a clearly defined problem that was well researched. Depending on how well the judges understand that from your team will affect, how did they do explaining the definition of the problem? Was it unclear, partially clear, or was it a clear definition? We have unclear, partially clear, and clear definition. And so depending on how well they explain that, if it's not partially clear, it has to be unclear. If it's not clear, it has to be partially clear. So the judges can't say, I'm between a 2 and a 3 on this one. They're going to say, okay, well, you didn't meet the criteria for a clear definition, so it must be partially clear. And you'll see there's this exceeds. How has the team exceeded? In order for your team to get a 4 on a category, they must go above and beyond what is in the criteria for a 3. So not only do they have to get the criteria for a 3, they have to go above and beyond that. And so the question always becomes, well, what is the criteria? And the only advice that I can really give a team starting out is that a really strong 3 is not a 4. So just because in this case, your definition was very clear, even if it was, twice as clear as the most clear explanation I've ever seen, that's not enough to make it a 4. There has to be something extra there that goes beyond. And so for that reason, do not expect to see a lot of 4s on your rubrics when they come back. When I'm at events, I typically see maybe a couple of 4s total across all 20 different things across all 10 to 30 teams at the event. 4s are very rare. 4s will help you, but 4s are very hard to get. And so the judges will do that for each area on the rubric. They'll say, okay, well, this one's clear. This is partial evidence. This is minimal evidence, detailed explanation. And they'll do it in there. You'll notice there's 10 things on the Innovation Project rubric. And then they'll do the same thing on the robot design rubric. And so there's the 5 areas. Each one has 2 of these. And you'll notice that each one does have 2. I can fill in the 2 independent of each other. So it doesn't matter if, I put a 3 here, I can put a 2 here. So it's good to go through these one by one with your students. Now, one thing you'll notice, some of the boxes are squares, like this one, but some of them are gears, like this one. If something on the rubric is a gear, that means it counts also towards your core values. So all 10 items on this rubric count for the project, all 10 of them. But these 5, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, also count towards your core values. So just like we had those 3 gracious professionalism points from our 3 matches that counted towards core values, these 5 items on the Innovation Project rubric also count toward core values. So they'll double count. They'll count both as Innovation Project and as core values. And if you look on the robot design rubric, you'll also see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those as well. So all 10 things on the robot design rubric count toward the robot design rubric, but 5 of the 10 count toward the core values rubric. So what you'll find is at the end of everything, your robot design score is based on 10 fields in the rubric for a maximum of 40 points, and then you're ranked. So if you got perfect 4s somehow, you're probably going to be rank 1, but the total number of points you get doesn't matter. It's just your rank number. Innovation Project, if you do all 10 of these perfectly, 4 points each, that's 40 points as well. But you've got 5 items from here, 5 items from here, that's 10 items, plus the 3 sets of gracious professional points, that's 13 items from the core values. So on core values, you're looking at not a total of 40, you're looking at a total of 52 possible. So there's a little bit more gradation in the core values. But again, all that matters is at the end of it, after everything is done and tallied, right, we're going to see that, in robot design, maybe you were rank 2. In the innovation project, you were rank 3. In core values, let's say you were rank 1. And in the robot game, you were rank 4. So those are your ranks compared to the other teams at your event. What we do is we add all of those up. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. So that means your score is 10. We do golf scoring. And then we look for whoever had the lowest score, right? Because if you had the lowest score, you would be rank 1, rank 1, rank 1, rank 1 equals 4. So what ends up happening is you get ranked against all the other teams at the event in each of the 4 categories. Then each of your 4 ranks gets added up. And then that determines your overall rank. And so the idea here that you really want to pay attention to is that your raw scores do not matter, right? When you're practicing, you want to work to get your score as high as possible. But when you're at the event, it doesn't matter if you win robot game by 1 point or 1,000 points. It doesn't matter if you are better in innovation project by 5 points or 30 points. What matters is, what is your rank? So this is how you're going to be evaluated. This will determine advancement. This will determine the Champions Award winner. This will determine the individual award winners, all from the robot game and the rubrics. So keep that in mind. And then we'll talk about in the next video how the judging session runs. But keep these in mind, because these rubrics are available to you to study, to practice with, and it's going to be super helpful, especially to keep these in mind when we talk about how the judging session flows.